I just got to...
Paul.
I muted my mic because I'm eating these massive strawberries I just got this afternoon. I didn't go grocery shopping for over 3 weeks. And then the last 2 days, I've just restocked everything.
Very nice.
Before I connected, I can hear the mic going.
Yeah.
And I took a bite out of one of these strawberries, and it was the juiciest, crunchiest, in a good way, as crunchy as a strawberry should be.
Well, it's funny you say that because before you started, I had to mute my mic because I was eating my Bachelor Haven meal of chicken strips, dipping in plum sauce in a wine glass. So
Got it. I ate an entire box of Kraft dinner.
Oh.
Yeah, all of it.
Oh, we get a lot of shots. Everybody come to the net. We just have to get more and more pucks to the net.
Just got to get pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
I'm getting pucks on net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
We keep putting pucks on net. We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net. Put as many pucks on net as we can.
I'm getting pucks on net.
Pucks on net and driving it, making it a hard night on them.
Live on tape from various locations. This is once again Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast. This is talking about fantasy or fancy stats. It is once again a satellite hot stove edition as we are doing this remotely. My name is Ryan Chappa. I'll be your host for the evening, and I am calling in live from my studio apartment in the West End, a stone's throw away from the Pump Jack. I have not left the apartment building today. Let's head down. Let's head down east down Nelson to the palatial estate on the 23rd floor. Geeta, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. As I mentioned earlier, I'm very, very full.
I don't know how much of that food talk could go into the cold open. So you could lie and say like, "Oh, I had a very healthy, evenly, all the food groups and all the nutritional bases covered." Light
That's
dinner.
a lie. If you saw my Instagram story from the weekend, all I've been eating for days is cheese.
Well, it's got calcium.
Does the body good, I've been told.
Yeah. See, up in an undisclosed location at his campus is PMAC.
Campus?
That's what...
what do you think, I'm some kind of rich person?
No, you said that the InfoWars guys would be in a campus.
No, and I don't think I said campus. I think I had another.
Or lift it. Love it or lift it, Vancouver.
Paul, she
Love
wants...
it. Oh, I was thinking Love It or Leave It, which is the podcast I told you to listen to. That'd be good.
To come and renovate your campus for you.
No, I'm hanging out here in the underground bunker eating these gigantic strawberries I've grown with the good radiation.
Wait, you grew those? I thought you bought those.
You could totally grow strawberries in West Vancouver in April. Giant ones. I didn't go I honestly did not go to the grocery store for over 3 weeks. I stocked up early on. Mm-hmm. Was able to live in the bunker, and then I've just purchased some fruits and veggies, so I'm not living off, frozen vegetables anymore, which is it's a nice relief. Bought some ingredients to make a pizza. We talked about that, Ryan.
Yeah.
I try to make a fancy pizza.
Ooh.
You were talking about that. I was actually going to ask you that again because that was kind of tickling my fancy. Just because we're in about week 96 of the quarantine and things aren't as fun as they used to be. So I want to cook some different things. And you said you're using naan bread, right?
Yeah. I actually do have some naan right now, so I'm going to use that as the crust.
Mm.
So have you left the house today?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went and got groceries.
Oh, that was today. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything?
You didn't.
Geeta, did you?
I stepped out just to get a carton of milk. I realized last week I left the apartment Monday afternoon just to get to the seawall and back. And between then and Saturday afternoon, I never went by my door. I I literally never. Well, I did. I went to open the door. I never went outside again.
Oh my God.
For a week.
That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Those. I forget who I was talking to. It might have been my building manager guy, but I went on. I've been living a very old man life last few days, which you both can relate to. In which I wait for the mailman. I wait for the mail to get here, and then yesterday, the only time I left the house was it was about 5:30. It wasn't raining, and I went for a walk. And I went for a walk to go see the new Fresh Street Market and London Drugs at Howe and Pacific. Didn't go.
I hope you needed groceries, because you shouldn't be doing that unless you need groceries. Right?
Oh no, I didn't go inside. I just looked at it and I said, "Oh, yep, there it is," because the street view hasn't been updated, and I walked home.
I'm just wandering the woods by my house. That's most of the only. I leave the house most days, but it's just to wander.
Oh yeah, I since I started doing that yoga inside, I don't feel a need to leave to get exercise, which is kind of a bad thing. So I'm probably going to try and go for a walkie after this here podcast tonight. But
it is lovely now.
Yeah,
It was rainy this morning.
It was a rainy weekend, which really doubles down on the gloomies, the quarantine gloomies when you're forced into the home.
See, I find it's the opposite. If it's raining outside, it makes me feel better, like I'm not missing out on anything, you know? It's like, it's raining. I should be inside.
Don't
without
worry.
even getting into the, other reasoning.
There's not a lot of FOMO to be had these days.
It's so funny you say that, Paul, because literally today I was inside, I was doing some work, and I looked out and the sun came out. And, like, I can kind of see the sun on another building, but I don't actually really get direct sunlight in here. And I saw the sun, and I had my Vancouverite reaction of, like, we got to go make the most of the sun. Like, I got to... And I'm like, well, where am I going to go? Am I going to go look at the boarded up shops that I shouldn't be going in? Or should I go on the seawall? I'm sick of that seawall, man. I'm over it.
Well, it sounds like too many people are hitting it up. So
Is
all
there
for
a
the best.
part of the seawall you haven't yet seen?
I guess I haven't done the like Fecal Creek side, the False Creek side. Like
Right.
I like your reaction to that one, Paul.
I keep manually muting my mic and then unmuting it, and by the time I do, Skype has picked up and muted me on the screen as well, so I can't even reply to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get the old plugs.
That's one of 2020's things, isn't it? Sorry, I had you on mute.
I feel like
I
that's
do
the
it
next-
like once a day.
the next excuse that politicians are going to use. Oh, I thought the mic was on mute. The nobleness of the microphone.
Thank you for joining us again, wherever you got us from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Puxinetca or Puxinetca. And if you want to support the show monetarily, and we totally don't expect you to be want to or be able to, or it's not something we're going to push, but patreon.com/PuxOnNet, where you can pledge a couple of bucks. And yeah, you can do that if you want. Man, what else did I do? Yeah, things were bleak. The quarantine wasn't very fun this week. Last time we talked, I had only read one chapter of Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
I've now read 4 chapters. I'm on page 48.
All right.
And
I literally read that book in like a 24-hour period.
I know. I'm like, I read
How have you-
four of them in a week.
How have you contained yourself to only reading 4 chapters? Yeah, you texted us and you're like, I think he knows he's a
Diagon Alley yet.
I think he knows he's a wizard now.
no, he
And I was
knows.
like, you got that book a month ago? I've been reading a lot more, actually. That's something I've been doing over the quarantine period. I just finished a book, and I'm well on my way into another book.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm just speeding up because I got sick of screen time.
For
And,
sure.
Yeah, I'm reading Chris Hadfield's book. He might have more than one book, but one of his books.
Nice.
Anyway,
Okay.
it's interesting.
You make a good point. Like, screen time, I'm over it. I'm trying to watch movies more. And then, like, kind of put the phone down just because I need something else.
Yeah.
But I would just like to say that this Dudley guy, This like
Yeah.
live in brother. What a piece of shit! Like, come on, he's so.
I mean, the whole family.
Wait. You don't relate to Dudley, do you?
No, I was. Now, I was actually thinking about this conversation we'd have earlier today, and I'm like, I might be a brat or was a brat growing up, but I was never like a bad kid or like a spoiled, rotten kid.
Yeah.
As you know, I have no qualms asking for stuff. Like when I asked my sister like last month to buy me a jacket just because like let's see how she'd react. So I get that sense is annoying, but like he's like a spoiled little pudgy kid and he gets what his comeuppance and that's great. But like I don't know, like, what a rapscallion. Two bedrooms he has, one just for his toys he doesn't even play with, and they're all broken because he loses interest. Like, get that fat fucking loser out of there. Get him out of the cupboard. Am I right, guys?
We can't spoil anything.
I feel like this is probably how it went down in the royal family too, right? Give Harry a chance. Give him, don't make him sleep under. I mean, I know under the stairs here is a massive something the size of 3 normal people's houses, but
Yeah.
why are we making Harry sleep under the stairs? That's why he left.
Well, I don't know if he's left yet. I just know that they tracked him down in that shack by the sea and they were giving him all those letters.
They've already moved down to California.
Yeah. You guys are talking about 2 completely different Harrys.
Oh, sorry.
No. What he said was, I'm catching on now. Yeah, they moved.
Harry Potter, I was talking about, moved down to California. He was like, screw this, Dursleys.
Is that where
I went
Hogwarts?
to private school down in California. I got a scholarship.
That's right. And now Harry and Meghan are on a shack in the middle of some sea. And
Keep getting all these letters from the paparazzo. Please come back.
The way you described it, it sounded like Harry and Meghan living on Vancouver Island. That's what I assumed you were talking about. I'm not even joking.
It was a shack by the sea,
very
all right.
clever, you guys.
But
yeah, that shack in Saanich.
yeah, well, it is in Saanich. I mean, come on, that one horse town. Come on.
Other than Ryan, we like Saanich and Vancouver Island in general. Just for all those listeners, don't let Ryan trash your island.
I love the island. I love Victoria, but Saanich, blah. Fun fact: when I needed to give the gears to disgruntled former employee Sheila, I would just say that she's not from Victoria; she's from Saanich, and that was all of the Dudley Dursley bullying I needed to do in that one instance. But we go from...
it's like not being from Vancouver, but being from Abbotsford.
Oh, exactly. I am from Abbotsford. I wear my shame on my sleeve next to my heart. And I can, if anybody needs the Stars tour of Abbotsford, and I'll show you where Chad Kruger's giant mansion used to be, or the bar, old man bar that would serve underage kids. I'll take you. I'll show you. It's all.
You'll walk us into your old high school without talking to administration first.
I love that so much.
To point out, like the photo of the Bacons.
No, we when Paul and I were in Abbotsford,
we drove by his high school, and he got so excited. He's like, "Let's go inside right now." And I'm like, "We should go to the office first. This is fine, but we should go to the office first." He's like, "No, we're gonna be quick. We're just gonna go in." And then we're amidst all of these young children. When Ryan finally goes, "Oh, yeah, we probably should have gone to the office first."
And then the funny thing was the one teacher I was hoping to run into was my media arts teacher, Mrs. Styron. And she literally walked by, and we could have been like, "Oh, I followed, and I enjoyed the class in video editing and photography so much that I took this, and I have a job in this, and we were just interviewing Matt Good for TV." And instead I was too nervous that we'd get in trouble, so I didn't even say it, and we just walked away.
But he is very supportive of everything in his hometown.
Woo,
yes,
baby.
yes, he is.
I also watched. Now we kind of talked about this last night. It might have been in the group chat, but I watched Uncut Gems last night.
Mm-hmm.
And
Paul, have you seen it?
Is this the Michael Jordan thing?
No, that's
What's Uncut Gems?
Uncut Gems is the Adam Sandler movie that came out earlier this year. It's one that he was sort of hoping to get an Oscar nomination for because it's unlike his other roles. It's more of a serious movie.
Those work for some guys. Like Steve Carell in the less comedy movies has been very good. And, Will Ferrell even in like Stranger Than Fiction was kind of the straight man. And everybody around him was more ridiculous, was really good in that movie, I thought. So, it could happen. Well, didn't Adam Sandler do the movie? Wasn't that him with Don Cheadle a few years ago? Like Something Over Me?
Rain Over Me?
Rain Over Me. Wasn't that Adam Sandler being serious and sad?
He's had a couple serious movies. He also did a movie that I really love but is way too long. It's a Judd Apatow movie called Funny People. And that's where he plays like a version of himself, a character of himself playing some, and then he has a scary illness that he, spoiler alert, overcomes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I
don't have to see the movie anymore.
You should watch it just because Seth Rogen wears a Raconteur shirt in it, Paul.
I know, and I own the same Raconteur shirt. You or somebody told me that.
That's right. But I watched Uncut Gems. Based on the advice of a couple people, and it's like it's a crime thriller kind of darker movie. But the part that like aghasted me the most is when they place the giant bet on the Game 7 of the Celtics and 76ers, and it's not that he has somehow made off with all that money to place that bet. It's that he made a parlay bet. Now I don't want to mansplain, but do you guys know what a parlay bet is?
I used to. I don't care about gambling these days.
Well, there's not much to gamble on except the weather and South Korean fastball. But I digress. He makes a parlay bet that the Celtics will win, that they'll beat the point spread, and then the third thing in the parlay is that the Celtics will win the tip-off. And like for you to win the bet, you have to get all three things. And so when I hear him in passing me like, oh yeah, I got money on the tip off, and I'm like, okay, what a fun little prop side bet. And then when he says to the guys locked in that little room, and he's like, oh no, that was the first bet of the parlay, I almost like drop my drink, like fall onto the floor. Like, are you kidding me? That's part of your parlay? Do you know how risky and insane that is? It's like betting on the.
That's the whole point of that movie. You're on edge the entire time.
Oh,
you feel like it's your money that they're playing with.
It felt like it was. Yeah, it felt like that was the bet, and then it's so funny. Like I don't want to spoil it, but like it's so funny what immediately happens, because in your mind you're like, everything's rosy. He's gonna be a nice guy and do what he needs to do, and then that abrupt ending. I'm like, no, that seems about right. That's what needed to happen, because he was just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great movie.
No, nobody in that movie is redeemable.
No, not at all.
It's the Tiger King of movies.
Yeah, well, Paul, you make an excellent point, and you are very eloquent when it comes to breaking down the plot and the general story arc of Tiger King. So that's a very hefty and accurate compare. It's like a greasy. It's the world of like jewelry
it's definitely greasy. That's a great word for it. It makes you feel dirty.
Yeah, like just like he's like
everything's like back roomy.
Yeah, like Paul, he's like a jewelry and like gem and stone and a diamond kind of dealer, and like he sells stuff to Kevin Garnett. But you go into this really weird back roomy, super secure showroom, and you feel
everything's so gross and gaudy.
Yeah, but yeah, it's you make a good point that everything about his life is just dirty and greasy.
I just clued into, like, you meant Kevin Garnett, former NBA player, not like I was thinking he was selling like garnets to Kevin James. That would be more.
There was
expected.
No Kevin James or Rob Schneider cameos.
They both got cut out, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's how you know it was a good movie. Actually,
he let Rob Schneider in on his SNL skit on the weekend.
He did. good.
There's that.
SNL was good. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Good. It seems like they figured out the managing to do it from home bit.
Yeah, and I loved Pete Davidson has done 2 weeks in a row of very good songs that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they mailed out green screens to everybody between the last 2 episodes they did, because almost everything was green screened this time.
Yeah.
And almost nothing was the time before. So they're at least trying to help the team out.
To figure it out. Brad Pitt was great.
Yeah, he was great. And yeah, it was
Paul Rudd was great.
Yeah. What's Up With That was hilarious, and they with Lindsey Buckingham as per usual.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's funny you say that they mailed out green screens, because I was watching the news last week, and like after global news is like I think Days of Our Lives, and sometimes I will watch it to see how old everybody is, because when we moved back from Calgary, we lived with my Oma and Opa for a year and a half, and you better goddamn believe what's on the TV at 4:00 at Oma and Opa's house, and that's Days of Our Lives.
Right.
And so I just get used to watching it. So I like to watch to see how old everybody is, including Jennifer Aniston's father.
I guess that's me in Coronation Street. That was my grandma's show.
Oh, yeah.
And I've watched a few times, and it's weird because they brought in an actor from a science fiction show in the UK that I watched growing up.
I think it was last Friday or Thursday, and prior to Global News at 5, at 4, I believe it's The Young and the Restless that comes on, and they've gone back to playing episodes from like the 80s or the 90s, and I'm just wondering if they're starting to run out of new shows that they had recorded up until a certain point before filming had to be shut down.
Well, it's why I brought this up, was because I was watching one part, and they had to do like reshoots of a scene, and it was done on like on a weird angle on a less quality camera on like a green screen in between shots of like on a regular set. And so I was so fascinated, like, how much else of this show is done at home in front of a green screen? So I watched the whole damn thing, and it was just one specific scene. So I mean, I got time. We have hours to kill nowadays, but yeah. Jennifer Aniston's dad looks really old. That's all I got.
Victor Kiriak.
That's right. Very good.
Yeah, everyone's mom and grandma watched Days of Our Lives.
You know who's beautiful is that Chloe, his daughter. No, was that his daughter? No. Daughter-in-law almost.
Right.
The opera singer.
Chloe. Yes.
You get lost in
Married
those.
To Philip.
We're talking about the royal family again?
Yeah. No, Harry Potter, Paul. Man, there's actually a little bit of hockey news today.
Is it really coming back in June?
Well, there's...
How much faith do you have in John Scott?
Is he part of that committee?
Well, no, John Scott was the one, or at least one of the people that was saying the NHL has told their players to be ready for camps on June 1st.
That is true, and like the Oilers were like, treat this like an off season. You might not, like training camp might be coming back, and I think I was listening. I forget where I saw it or heard it or read it, but they were saying like that they would have neutral site arenas, one per every conference or one for every division.
Well, Elliot Friedman was writing a bit about that and speculated Edmonton was the Pacific Division city they were talking about, although I've also seen and heard in a few places.
Alberta's not ready to be open.
No, they want to be open for business.
Well, the numbers are better in Edmonton than Calgary, but I was just going to say I have seen in a couple other places, though, that Vancouver is on the radar for the NHL as well.
Right.
And I would assume that's, you've got 2 NHL quality arenas within the city. And then if you really wanted to bring in multiple teams within the division or even the whole conference, you could use Abbotsford, you could use Langley, you could use Chilliwack, you could use Victoria. There's a lot of arenas that are good enough to host NHL quality broadcasts.
And
in a very small region, if you packed in, a bunch of them. So I still think June 1st is like best case scenario. Some people were freaking out. That's too soon. The NHL should just throw in the towel. I think at this point it's like they've got to come up with a plan for the best case scenario, and then they're going to keep pushing it back until they run out of space. So I think right now, for another 3 weeks or so, they'll look at this June 1st date. And then they'll have to push it on a month if things haven't gotten better. But we'll wait and see. British Columbia, what's his name? Justin
Trudeau.
CBC. No, I want to say like Justin McElroy. It's something like that.
Oh, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
The numbers guy. He was running some numbers and of provinces, territories, and countries in North America and Western Europe. BC actually has the best numbers for a population that exceeds 5 million people. So
great to hear.
It wouldn't be wild to think, if BC can keep things locked down, that it might be somewhere that they'd look at. And then and even if you're separating it by city, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but their numbers supposedly are considerably better than Calgary's were. So as long as you're avoiding Quebec, just Canada in general is doing a much better job of fighting this off than most places, especially if it's going to be Canada to the States. The States are still in much rougher shape, and they're starting things up even in a worse position than we are. So if there's any extended benefits to quarantining that Canada gets out of it, if the NHL starts up, I would imagine they'd put as much of it, if not all of it, in Canada at this point.
For sure.
And that's I remember the thing I was reading, and it's in the notes that like one of the biggest factors would be if they reopen the border. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just fly them here, nice and clean? You leave them.
Like it would be run like the Olympics or something. Think about 3 games a day in each arena. So if you had divisions to specific cities or some kind of separation within each cities, you wouldn't really even have to do it by division. If they wanted to finish the regular season, travel isn't a concern, so you could mix things up and just have a draw like Vancouver and Edmonton. If they're 2 of the host cities, let them stay in their cities. Don't worry about divisionally separating or whatever. There's different ways to do this.
And Paul, there's so many jokes that we could make about Ottawa and Sunrise, Florida being ideal spots because of no attendance. But then at the same time, in the reality, they are terrible spots and they shouldn't be there because of the numbers.
Is Ottawa doing bad with I haven't looked at the numbers in Ottawa. I know Ontario isn't looking great, and Quebec is, right next door to Ottawa, and they've had the worst, faced the worst of all of this in Canada. So I'd imagine those.
Wow,
would
what
be
a
ideal
great
spots.
segue to Dave, who is not here.
He could have given us an update, But it'd be interesting. Like Western Canada seems to be in better shape numbers-wise. If this is something that would happen safely, you got to think of Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg would be 3 of the front runners for host cities.
And did you see the good news today that there was 11 confirmed new cases yesterday, the lowest since March 14th? Like, nice little positive piece of news.
That's amazing.
Damn right it is.
In British Columbia, you're saying?
Well, we are. We respect Doc Bonnie Henry. We don't go outside.
Yeah.
We go on walks to admire the new grocery store. We don't go inside the new grocery store. And then we walk into Shoppers Drug Mart and we buy a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and then we walk back and we put it back because we talk ourselves out of it. I'm only speaking about myself and what I did yesterday.
You picked up the ice cream and then put it back?
Yeah, I did.
Come on, Ryan.
I bring my
little... pick it up, you have to eat that. That is the rule now.
That's Paul. I am looking for vices, pal.
Oh, because he's touched it.
But most places have the Purell when you come in, and I carry my little Purell bottle when I walk around. But
for sure,
if you give me that sort of just power, where I can go, oh no, I touched the bag of Chicago mix, or oh no, I touched the 4-liter drum of ice cream, like. I'm going to need to start pushing this laptop further away from me because I will balloon up in size. So I can't wield that power, Paul.
What flavor of ice cream did you put away?
It was the Tonight Dough, the cookie dough one with the Jimmy Fallon one, which is tremendous. It's very good.
It wasn't that Don Cherry is nuts? No? That's the Cherry Garcia of Canada.
That's true.
There's
just
no
cherries
nuts
and
in
nuts. Yeah.
I actually that would be pretty good. It would be like a macadamia.
Cherries
nut.
and nuts would be delicious.
Well, I'll
Let's make some calls.
yeah, Ben. Ben or Jerry or Dr. Breyer?
Because we know they're listening.
Yeah, the big ice cream folks are always listening, especially during these trying times.
I'm sure Dr. Zotker will make
Ernest out there is listening.
Dr. Otker's listening.
Dr. Otker will make a cherry and nut dessert pizza pie that will not sell at grocery stores now.
Right.
Oh, guys, we have some fun here.
Yeah.
We forgot.
Yeah, we do. Can I share a story from the weekend that you'll probably appreciate?
Absolutely.
I was talking to Reed's mom and stepmom over the weekend,
Mhm.
and he happened to mention our evening at the number 5 when I famously ordered a cup of coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had to fill them in on the full context of like what was going on that evening. Your whole bit with I needed to buy a t-shirt and they're like, well, like did you stay and watch? And I'm like, no, we were watching the World Juniors.
We were.
And immediately the follow-up question was, are they legal?
That was Ryan's noise.
I was like, I mean, I've told that story 1,000 times. Out of context, I never realized what it actually sounded like.
We're watching the World Juniors down at the number 5.
Well, they could be, they're under 20.
Yeah, it's
so
under.
They could still be over 18.
I don't know what the stripper equivalent of the Connor McDavid birdcage would be, but it'd cover up everything, you know? They would just more focus on their abilities and not the whole show. Holy shit. That's fantastic.
I thought you'd like that.
Oh, I love that. Ironically, or a good segue, you can now buy number 5 orange masks on their website. So if you need a mask...
Are they a sponsor now?
Of the podcast?
I mean...
I would love it if, goddamn, live on tape from the back booth.
You're plugging all their merch. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
All I know is that shirt I bought in January of 2017 is such a head turner, and people are so like, oh shit, like what a great shirt that is. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why we went and bought it. I wore it when I rode my bike up to Neptune Records, and so many people stop and look and turn their heads at it. I love that shirt. It's a great shirt. Good quality too. It's made by the Van City Originals people. Speaking of strip clubs, Polly, Dustin Byfuglien is not a Winnipeg Jet anymore.
I'm not sure I get is there a story about Dustin Byfuglien I'm forgetting?
No, Winnipeg is famous for its strip clubs.
Is it?
No. Okay.
Oh, I thought it was.
Well, you know what they say about strip clubs? You need to wear a comfortable clothing both for you and if you decide to go to the VIP room. So something like a tracksuit. Speaking of tracksuits, Dustin Byfuglien terminated his contract with the Winnipeg Jets, leaving about $15 million on the table after a controversial departure from the team.
Stripped of his salary, you could say? Stripped of his logo?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting decision, and a lot of people are assuming that he is done for good, although he didn't file his retirement papers, which makes me think he's going to kind of keep his mind open, and if somebody brings him an offer he cannot refuse. Allegedly, teams have inquired already, although the team that makes the most sense to me if he did come back would be the Minnesota Wild.
I thought you were going to say the
not
Winnipeg...
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
The Bucks? We need you to come back.
He's a very versatile player.
He's a big boy. I could see him on a...
I bet he's got a good arm. He could be a surprise quarterback
They already got 2 of those guys, Paulie.
Yeah, watch him knock them out of the way. Look out, Dusty Bufflin, rover extraordinaire. He brought back the rover position in hockey. No one had done that in 80 years.
So there's my PMAX clickbait headline of the week, and I'm glad it's back. Dustin Bufflin replaces Tom Brady as Bucks head coach. Renames of quarterback, renames the team the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, that's pretty good. But yeah, I think if he's going anywhere, Minnesota Wild, it's his home state, just down the road from Winnipeg. Why he was so happy to be there. He's close to home.
He could drive his boat there.
He can boat. There's a lot of lakes in that land.
Yeah.
He could do all of his winter sports stuff that he loves so much. And they're an organization that loves giving washed up old NHLers a second chance. That's their whole thing these days.
That's their mission statement.
Done to stall.
I can't wait to see them play in the Langley Event Center in late June.
On television, of course. I mean, I might sneak in as media, but, if I get sick, you can replace me with my press pass.
I was kind of looking up Big Buffs, and like he's been an interesting guy who doesn't really give a shit what people think about him, and he doesn't really fall into that robotic hockey mindset. And so I mean, he played 869 games. He had 525 points, 177 goals. Because as Paul was saying, he was basically a rover. He'd play offense or defense on any given night, and I mean, if he doesn't want to play anymore, I mean, like, he's just not going to play. But I'm very curious, and I hope he doesn't come to Vancouver. But you know what they say about Stanley Cup winning relics from the past. Jim Benning loves them.
Well, I mean, Vancouver's in a position right now. They can't afford to bring him in unless he's playing on the cheap, and I have trouble seeing him take a discount contract to come to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Vancouver Canucks, as you know, I'm playing a lot of virtual GM mode Vancouver Canucks. My 2021 team is great. I just like to say this.
Okay.
My favorite virtual Canuck, Tyler Mott. My least favorite, Tyler Toffoli.
Really?
Oh, awful, Paul. No dynamic to his virtual game. He's down to the third line now. I'm getting nothing out of him. I got no opportunities from him. I just don't like him.
I can see why Tyler Mott might be good in video game mode. He is a good, fast skater, and that is half the battle in video games. Tyler Mott, critically underrated Canuck. Anyway, great fourth-line player. They should be trying to hold on to guys like him. Although
so what
he had some
you're
injury
saying is Tyler Toffoli on paper is overrated, underrated, overrated?
Video game Tyler Toffoli or
real life?
Toffoli?
Let's go real life first, because
Real Toffoli is underrated, but because he's a UFA, will be overpaid no matter what happens.
Yeah,
he's become so overrated in Vancouver.
Yeah, he had three. He had three good games.
He played 2 games.
Yeah. It's so funny. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but in NHL you have your GM and you have text conversations with your players. And Tanner Pearson wasn't performing, and so I got a text from Tanner Pearson, and he's like, "I'm really sad. I'm not playing well." And I'm like, he comes, he's like, "I want more ice time," and I said, "Okay, pal, you have your options." It's like a role playing game. Like, no, shut up, you baby. Make use of what I give you, or you're like, "Sure thing, I'll give you more ice time. I think you deserve it." I took the nice guy approach to virtual Tanner Pearson. I said, "You know what? I'm going to give you more ice time." I put him on the power play unit. I gave him top 6 minutes. Minutes went up from 8 a game to 9, or let's say 16. Then the next thing you know, he has a couple bad games, and he sends me a text saying he's sad because he had 2 bad games, and his morale dropped 15 points. And I'm like,
but did he apologize?
What were you saying, Paul?
I was just going to wonder, is this one where you can hire coaches and stuff? I remember there was an N64 that was, way too in-depth, the game, and you could hire a coaching staff with very specific sets. So some of them were, psychologists and stuff that would work with your players. Do they have that in... I haven't played an NHL game in, 8 years. I don't know what version I have, but I was thinking of pulling it out just to play in this gap time, but it would be, it's PS3 NHL 12 or something that I've got.
Excellent segues to some questions down the line, but you can hire them, but you can't. Actually, I haven't fired a coach yet, but you do hire and fire your staff.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a sad boy, and now I'm dealing with this sad guy. But it's just.
But did he take ownership of his actions, of his play?
Yeah.
Or did he just say, "Oh, I'm sad"?
He's like, my performance has been underwhelming, and his morale, and then the morale goes like, pew! And I'm like, I can't have sad guys on my team. I'm trying to win a championship here.
No.
It's tough.
Try and trade him to Edmonton.
Oh no, because I like him now. I like him a lot more than Tyler Toffoli, who he re-signed for like $8 million, and it's just.
Why'd you give him $8 million, Ryan?
I don't.
Did you move Brock Besser to make space for him?
Ryan seems like he would overpay.
Okay, here's the thing. We always talk about how Jim Benning or so-and-so or insert GM here is a terrible GM. Mm-hmm. Season ended a couple weeks ago. I lost Game 7 in overtime in the West Final to Edmonton. Fucking Connor McDavid, don't even get me started. Here comes the offseason. Thatcher Demko steals the net, so he's going to be my starter, but I re-signed Jacob Markstrom for like $1.5 million. And I'm like, this is going to be so easy. I love being a GM. Then I re-signed Joe Thornton, who I picked up at the deadline, to big money, and I'm like, I don't even like Joe Thornton. What's he doing here? And then I had to start trading all these assets for picks, but I'm like, now I need to sign guys, so I'm picking anybody up out of the AHL waiver wire. Like, I fucked up, all right? But we're
sounds like you're managing. You're saying we should cut Jim Benning a break, but when we listen to the moves you're making, it's like just pull Twitter. If the Canucks just pulled Twitter, I don't think it would go over well. But it sounds like it might help you. Should I do this? Yes or no?
Paul,
you have 8 hours to vote.
You should just run polls. Well, you should only limit them to an hour. I need an immediate answer.
Should I sign 45-year-old Joe Thornton to a $5 million contract?
It was 1.9.
It sounds like
you're getting picks.
I did get a lot of picks, but I made a lot of panic moves, and I was like, boy, I really wish I had a guy like Josh Levo on the team. But I just let him walk because I'm like, I got so much depth, I don't need any of you. I was Jim Benning.
You got overconfident when you scammed Markstrom into taking $1.5 million.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's super realistic if Markstrom's signing for 1.5. Even if he does stay in Vancouver on the cheap, it's going to be like 5.5 or something.
Yeah. It's going to be Toffoli money.
So basically, if you take Tyler Toffoli and Jacob Markstrom in my virtual Canucks and you add up the combined salaries, it's similar to what they'll cost in real life, except Tyler Toffoli will not make 8.5 and Markstrom won't make 1.5. But that's a lot of video game chat, and there's a handful of video.
Wow, isn't that one of the rules of Pucks on Net? We're not allowed to talk about fantasy. This is kind of fantasy sports.
You are right, but Paul, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. There are no.
I'm just happy this is a step up from playing a 4-hour game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Hey, come on now.
I appreciate the work you put into that.
As long as that's
great radio.
Well, I'm thankful that you said that because I did put a lot of time in it. But I will say a lot of people really liked Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I loved it. I had so much fun.
You should do more of them. I'll just get that week off. That's fine.
Now, Paul, I used those questions. It's funny you bring this up because last week. So if you listened last week, we did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I thought I made the questions pretty hard, and so hard to the point that we went back and we did the 15 questions from the original Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The guy won it in 2000, and it was like, here are the 15 questions you have to answer, and I'm like, this is surprisingly easy. And then I kind of look back at mine, and I'm like, holy shit, these are like painstakingly, encyclopedically hard. And so I thought
we did fairly good then.
Wasn't that? I think it's more just the format. Like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is not a podcast radio show, especially one that you're not going to edit out all the let me think about this for the next 4 minutes. I'm sure they cut it down on the television, even though you'd see them like
sweating,
humming and hawing and sweating. They could cut down a 20-minute period into 2 and it would still look intensely difficult decision making.
I was amazed, and I thought, like, the Bo Horvat draft year question. I asked a handful of people that question over the weekend and over the week since this passed. Like, nobody got it.
No, I asked Reed the same question. He missed it by a year. Like, he's had the same answer Dave and I did.
Yeah, like everyone.
It's like there's a year we've blocked out of our lives.
There is. It's so wild to think about, but like nobody can. No, it's just when you're put on the spot, and it's like, when was he drafted? You're like,
2014.
Yeah, if you go back and you name all the players, then I was like, oh, it's not that tough. It's kind of like if I can name the Stanley Cup winners back 40 some years. But if you have to do them in order and you're like thinking about it, but if you don't do it that way, it's like, who won what trophy, what year, who got drafted, what year? Like, it all starts to blend together. Yeah. Part of it, I remember when we were guessing that one, I was like, who was the Canuck pick? The McDavid year? Was that the Virtanen year, or was that the Besser year? And that was throwing me off that I couldn't remember. It was the Besser year, and then Virtanen was 14, and then Horvat was 13.
Was Besser 15?
Yeah, I think Besser was 15.
Hugh Levy's 16, Patterson 17, Quinn 18, 19, Potts goals. And yeah, I also realized that I have a very encyclopedic memory, and that I will, like, not in a good way, but in, like, I can think, like, on a grid of just stupidity, and I don't know.
I probably would have been able to answer this if you asked me it when I was like 13 and I used to read the NHL official guide and record book before bed every night.
Oh, is that what you...
I think it would have been a different game if we were playing this at 13.
I would have done better, but it would be a much less entertaining show.
We'd have all been losers. Real losers.
Oh, guys, you're winners in my
As
heart.
opposed to now? You're cool, Geeta, I guess. You know.
Yeah. See here.
Sure. That's relative.
We had some questions last week that we didn't touch on because of our 4-hour Millionaire Fest. But our dear friend, close personal friend and occasional phone-in guest host Brady Strachan out of Kelowna on CBC News, he asked Big Buff, "It's so sad what happened." So we did touch on that, but we don't know. But I'm more curious to see what will happen and where he'll wind up.
I mean, yeah, I guess everyone knows the basic. There's some injuries and question as to when things happened and who said what to who, and some disagreements in that regard.
We got a crap ton of video game questions, which I'm officially saying are is an essential during.
Because probably a lot of your listeners are playing video games right now.
Is this your Twitch crowd, Ryan? Have you been, or is this your OnlyFans, or are those the same now?
Sometimes I forget, and I post the wrong content on Twitch. My virtual Canucks are on OnlyFans, and my fans there are like, well, come on, what am I supposed to do with this?
His workout videos are on Twitter.
But I'm deeming video games an essential during the quarantine. Whatever you're playing, it's nice to just to get away from your screen and your scrolling. But there's a handful of questions. Mills asked a couple good ones, and he goes, did you guys play video games as kids? We know Ryan plays them, but what about the rest of the gang now? So I want to ask you, what was your favorite video game as a kid? What gave you the most bang for your buck? That it's the 7 o'clock cheer.
That's the goal horn.
So there, I put a mic up in my windowsill.
That's the street right now.
Yeah.
I'm not on it, but that's what's going on out there.
So what was your favorite video game growing up?
Who's going first?
I have that big bag of Super Nintendo games that you're housing at the moment.
Do you want them?
Yeah, I do actually. I wanted to play them because now I'm home and I guess I should.
Well, I'll do it. I can come by tomorrow.
Throw them up to her
Yeah,
balcony.
I guess so.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give them to you.
Okay.
All right. Well, Geeta, out of that big sack of your video games, or
I like playing like the Mario game that came with it
yeah,
originally, and then played my NHL '93 on the Sega for a while, and like MLB '98 was a lot of fun on the very first PlayStation.
Paul, what about you?
I think most of my favorites are probably Super Nintendo. That was sort of what I had for, a good chunk of my life. And NHL 96 was the one that I had. We later got 94 and only used it for shootouts. Specifically, if we wanted a shootout, we'd flip it. That's 94. But yeah, I think my favorite game all time is like, it's a cult classic. So some people are really into it, but a lot of people are like, what? It's called Chrono Trigger.
What is that?
A role-playing game for Super Nintendo that's like time travel and medieval, and you equip your guys with swords and what have you. And it's a really good story. It was very in depth. It was one of the first games with like multiple endings depending on what you do.
Okay.
And have different endings. And there's another one called Earthbound I really liked. And Super Mario RPG was really good. I like those games that had like a story.
Yeah.
In addition to like the action and fighting and solving puzzles and stuff. So those are probably my big three growing up.
It's funny.
Okay.
It's funny you bring up the the original or the Marios or like the Super Mario, because I have such PTSD from playing with my sister because she would be so good at playing just Mario or mainly Mario and like Mario 3 for the NES. Where like she could like I would just die all the time because I would misjudge my jumps and I'd fall down or whatever, and I'd watch her and just like I get so like frustrated that she could do it and I couldn't. And then you hear people saying like, "Oh, I beat Super Mario 3," or like people on the internet. It's like, "How to beat Super Mario 3 in 15, 20 minutes?" And I'm like, 20 minutes? That would take me years.
I mean, I'm pretty sure those involve there's like secret warp tunnels where you skip ahead to the end of the game very quickly. Like, they didn't actually beat the whole game, Ryan. Don't worry about that.
I also say this. I have my street mic up. There is a apartment across the street that does performs music every night. And and it's gotten more and more elaborate and kind of, gigantic. And so now they're performing right now. So let's check in on that.
Is this mic cutting in and out?
No. They just stopped.
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's kind of cool.
It's called Songs for Thanks. They're on Instagram, guys.
I feel like you two are getting a much different experience with like the 7 o'clock stuff being in town where there's a lot of people around. Because like
Totally.
we had a week or so where I could hear some kids banging pots on the street at 7. There's like nothing now because
there are
empty houses in the woods.
Like in Yaletown where it just kind of goes on and it's very loud.
Yeah.
And then there's a night like tonight where it was so abrupt that it barely happened.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's as this goes on and we spend more and more weeks at home, you're just kind of like, like the kind of the communal aspect of it and the novelty is wearing off. Like you still want to do it, but you're just kind of like, all right, like we've done this. And I want to support, but it's like you just, it's that end in sight isn't here yet, and it's
it is interesting to see how people are dealing with the evolution of time with this, because even at the grocery store this week, I hadn't been in 3 weeks, right? And noticing how like careless people have gotten with like people are like zooming right up next to me without even thinking about it, like way more than at first. And I'm like, I'm not being a jerk about it. I'm not telling, but like I'll usually take a step back if somebody gets too close or whatever. But it's interesting to me to see like some people have just like maybe they're still following some of the precautions, but.
Well, it seemed like a few weeks ago where if you went into an aisle, maybe one other person would venture to join
Yeah.
But otherwise, like they'd wait at the edge until you were done picking out whatever you wanted. I went into Shoppers today and I'm like, there's like 4 or 5 people in an aisle looking at shampoos and whatever, and like someone's got their little kid with them, and it's like people are just, they're waiting in line for the pharmacy, but there's no way that they're distancing.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
And so it does definitely seem like everybody's getting a little more relaxed.
Which, yeah, it's...
Look at the numbers from 1918, 1919, folks. When we see people doing stuff and states and whatever opening up everything too soon, it's like 1918, 1919, where I talked about one of the Montreal Canadiens died that year during, right after the Stanley Cup final was canceled.
Right.
There's 2 peaks in a lot of major cities across the states. So I'm just saying, take it easy, be mellow, wait your turn. Don't get too close to folks.
Go back indoors. And Mills had another good question. He's like, yes, and this, I might be a bit of a thinker, so we'll give you guys some time. But like, what's one thing you have done while in social isolation that you may not have done or wouldn't have done for months had we not been here? And I know, like, while you guys can think about it, I'll just say mine. Like, I was putting off doing yoga for like 2 months, and then I kind of got uncomfortable with running on the seawall, and so I started doing that, and now I really love it, and I've been singing its praises for a while now, and I'd say that, or I don't know. My house is usually pretty clean. Now it's spotless. There's not a speck of dust. You can make computer chips in here. But I'm going to say, reading Harry Potter. I didn't plan on doing that one, folks.
Look at all the things that you're doing. I don't know. I started cleaning my closet. I did half of it. There's still a lot more to do.
Yeah.
I've given up on some of those grooming, grooming and those things that we would do on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair.
I still shower every day.
Well, that's like no deodorant McClellan over here. He showers, but he's not wearing it.
I've been wearing deodorant now that I'm out in public again, Ryan.
Okay, I liked your argument, and so there was no judgment here. Polly, what about you? So you've gone from wearing deodorant to not wearing deodorant to wearing deodorant again. That's a full quarantine right there.
I should never open up on this show. That's what I'm learning in this break.
We're your friends. We never forget.
Yes, you all, 2,000 of you listening or whatever. We're all friends.
Attaboy, Polly. Pump those numbers.
I was hoping they'd be better than that, Ryan.
I mean, 2,000, more like 200.
Great.
Okay, what is this? Do we have a ticker?
Yeah, we got to live stream this and see, all 7 listeners. I don't know. I've been reading more often than I had been.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of sort of like I'll read a lot for a bit and then not much, but yeah, burned through a couple of books and only seem to be speeding up in that regard. So
nice.
That's been good, but yeah, I don't know. Nothing too exciting here. I try to clean, but I live in a big old haunted house, and it doesn't matter how much I clean. This house is always.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the dirt's just like there. It's never going to be washed out. This house will have to be like, burned to the ground.
Smudged.
Those
exercised.
Stains will disappear. It'll have to be exercised, definitely. Yeah.
I forgot to bring this up, but now I'm not looking for judgment on this, but I've never had a cavity in my teeth, but one thing I'm very bad at doing is flossing.
Yeah.
Really bad at it. Like the worst. I don't floss. I'm very bad at it. And this happened. So last Monday after we did the podcast, while we were doing the podcast, I don't really drink a lot of pop, but I somehow drank a can of Coke and a bottle of Barks root beer.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And then I went to bed, and I woke up at about 2:30 in the morning, and my gums were hurting so much, like to the point where I couldn't wear my mouth guard from when I grind my teeth. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, this is such a strange feeling. And I got up at just about 2:30 in the morning, and I went and brushed my teeth, and then I'm like, I think I might need to floss. And so I flossed, and it was horrible. And I brushed my teeth again, and then everything was fine, and I immediately fell asleep and went to bed. So I'm flossing more. Skype silence. I'd like some approval of my new flossing regimen.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Dental
Was that
hygiene.
How hard was that, Geeta? Jeez.
Hooray!
I know. I don't have any cavities. What else we got here? What do we got here? Okay, Chris Faber asked last week which Canucks player would have the best TikTok account. And to narrow it down, as you remember last year, I grouped the Canucks into gangs. There's the dusty old Swedes, there's the dull boys, there's the big money crew, and there's the TikTok boys, which are anybody born after 1995. So you got like, I'm curious, who do you think would have the best TikTok account?
Wait, do the TikTok boys all have TikTok accounts?
I don't know if they do. I think that might be I don't know how many NHLers have TikTok right now.
Well, they got to keep those ones private because they're all shooting their shots with the TikTok stars, or, the dance stars. It's like Jake Vertanen with that cosplayer on Twitter.
Who are you? Yeah, I felt bad for him. She totally hacked up she edited the screenshots and made it seem like she blew him off instantly when really they just like had a conversation.
Yeah. Well, didn't she apologize for it in the end?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, but the TikTok boys. You gotta. Well, could we get like Jake Markstrom from 8 years ago or whatever when he was doing those like skits with the action figures?
Well, it's funny you say that, Paul, because I was thinking the best TikToker would be somebody that's not that age, where it would just be like Jacob or like Alex Edler, the oldest guy, being like. He thinks that TikTok is like the phone or the camera feature on his phone. He's like, did that save? Did that save? How do I tell?
Yeah, Edler's not that old. He's like our age.
I think he's younger than us.
Edler,
we're far too old for TikTok, but I have a TikTok account.
Oh no.
Not only did I sign into Facebook during this time, I also signed up for TikTok.
So to answer Mill's question, that's what you done that you wouldn't have normally done.
And then I also downloaded Scrabble and have been beating everybody by at least 100 points because I have a goal.
Are you playing Scrabble or Words with Friends?
Scrabble. I'm just playing with strangers.
Oh,
Do you want to play Words with Friends?
Yeah, I'm playing. I got like 4 games going right now on Words with Friends. Paul, you should download it too.
Sure, I haven't played any Scrabble games since probably BCIT, but I'd give it a try. I read books. I know words. Anyway, yeah, I'd say Jake Markstrom would be a good TikToker. I feel like he's got a good sense of humor, although he's been trying to be all like business the last few years.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him too because there aren't a lot of fun guys on this team.
I mean, Elias Pettersson posted that video.
Holy shit.
Isn't it just labeled Swish, and it's him shooting a basketball and hitting the top of the rim just at some random playground in Sweden?
God.
He seems like he's got a good sense of humor that he'd know how to manipulate that.
He's got that deadpan, like, Swedish, like the guys that they know what everybody's saying, but they act like, I'm not going to say much because people don't expect me to, but he knows what's going on. He delivers in just like a clever, sharp. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And he's of the generation.
There's that side of it too.
Last week, Ryan Hank, always 94, he asked a question that really appealed to you, Geeta.
Yeah.
And it was, who decided that the P and the H make the F sound?
The Romans, because they were trying to normalize the Greek language.
I like
Was
that.
it Latin?
Basically
it's the letter phi.
The P, yeah, exactly. The PH is used in any word that has like a Greek root to it. So you'll get it in photo, sophomore, things like that.
Okay.
Phonetic.
Because it comes from the letter phi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
PHI.
Yeah.
And the symbol looks like a P. So there you go.
He also asked last week, will ponytails become cool in month 3 of quarantine? And I only asked this because in a couple of my group chats, I've asked guys during this quarantine are either going this pandemic are going buzzing it down or they're letting it go wild, and so I think that you're going to have a polarizing spectrum of male hair of just a mess or Eminem and 8 Mile.
Have you asked Amanda if she'd cut your hair?
She subtly brought it up that she kind of wasn't interested by the idea. And I was not trimming my beard either. And then late last week, I was politely suggested that I should trim it.
I've trimmed my beard once, but mostly just the sides, so it's growing down.
It looks
but not
good.
Out. And I trimmed the mustache. Actually, my mustache is so thick that it hurts if I don't trim it like once a month. I'm not even joking. Like the hair is just like 12 times thicker than a normal. Anyway, so I trimmed the mustache and the sides, but nice. Scottish beards, it's trouble.
You're looking sharp though, so that's all that matters.
We all are.
That's true. I guess my last question is Karsten Gulbranson, who Paul has met IRL.
Right.
What Canucks would make your Mount Rushmore of least favorite players? So,
least favorite.
Yeah, which I really like because, the Sedins and Linden and Patterson.
But you only have to use one Sedin face.
I mean, would Vancouver need a Mount Rushmore? Wouldn't they go more Statue of Liberty route? They just have Big Mark out on the bay, hoisting a big torch. But maybe we replace that with a Stanley Cup, '94 Stanley Cup. Put that out in English Bay.
In his Rangers jersey, yeah. Let's put it where like that. Yeah.
I'll put it in Jack Poole Plaza or something. No, we'll take down Pat Quinn's, and we're gonna put Mark Messier's here instead. We're gonna keep Pat Quinn's up. We're just gonna move it to it's gonna be like under the bridge by the Costco or something.
If the Canucks, changed some things up and hired the old Las Vegas Knights social media team, that would be the perfect April 1st. Thing, we've decided we've moved Pat Quinn to a different location, Mark Messier now, and they'd actually have a bronze statue just for the social media explosion.
Greatest moments in Canucks history. Have you already featured the Canucks?
I have. That was an early one, and I picked Mark Messier wearing the jersey at the press conference.
Yeah, before the C was on it.
And then I put Roberto Luongo on the bench at the Heritage Classic. And I gotta say, and Paul, you chimed in on it, I royally fucked up the Nashville Predators one by including the members of the Tennessee Titans drinking beer off that catfish when I should have put them with all the banners. And the banners image was one of the first ones that popped into my head, so I've ruined it. It's sullied.
Who cares? I don't know. I was surprised to hear you're still doing this. It's fine. You can do whatever you want.
It's 31 days.
Finished. I look forward to that.
Thank you.
I just mean he can delete it and do it again if he wants. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you make a good point.
Nobody's holding you to some big standard if anyone is, it's the people that have asked these questions on the show. And then they'll write us a question about why is Ryan allowed to make the rules however he wants on Twitter, and we'll just go, I don't know, you ever follow Canucks Buzz?
I'll give you my Mount Rushmore. It'll be easy. It'll be Louis Eriksson.
I don't know.
This is mine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I probably don't hate Mark Messier as a person, but in the confines of a team atmosphere,
he's not really a good person.
Oh.
Allegedly.
Okay, fine. I'm picking. Fine. And you know what? Fine. I'll take him off. Here we go. I'm taking Mark Messier. I'm taking Steve McCarthy, who drew a wedge in the dressing room that broke up the West Coast Express. I'm going to take... who else is there? Who's bad?
I was thinking Peter Nedved might make the list.
Good holdout boy.
People were mad about that back then. And I don't know if he's... Again, there's some decent memories. He had some decent offensive numbers in Vancouver, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that were sour. Remember how mad everybody was at Pavel Bure? Like a huge chunk of the city hated Pavel Bure for a long time after he held out and demanded a trade.
Well, especially when he was still in the
Do
league.
they have?
Especially when he was still in the league and you were reminded of him when Florida would come to town or he would win the scoring title for Florida. And then when he was playing for the Rangers, like that was still so present. Omnipresent? Is that the word?
No, like present in your face.
Okay, yes. But
I was going to say, does it have to be a player? Could we not put Mike Keenan there for
that was
tearing the team apart?
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's put Keenan, Messier, Steve McCarthy, and let's do Peter Nedved.
John McCaw.
Ooh, yeah, John McCaw. He was the
that's
worst.
A good one.
As much as people
It's all
complain about
really from that same era.
dark days. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could probably go back and find some other names, but yeah, those are some of the names that just popped up in my mind for sure.
There was this junior coach that coached the Canucks for like half a season, and I forget his name, but he was like, he would make them run sprints and run miles in their hockey gear and was like verbally and... How
far back are you talking about? This isn't like Tom Rennie.
I'll bring it up. It's funny, I've had this bookmark in Google.
Oh, I know who you're talking. Willie Desjardins?
Well, it reminds me of Willie D because I think it was Sean Mathias on a podcast came out and was like, he's like, they got burned out in that Calgary series in 2015 because like the day after a big win, Willie had them in the gym like lifting weights and like business as usual, like they were kids and like they were so exhausted for the next road game. Bill LaForge. Bill LaForge was the coach of
What is that?
It's coming. I wonder if it
was that early 80s. That's like pre Roger Nielsen. I mean, it's before my time. I'm trying to remember my.
Yeah. He was the coach of the. He went from the Junior Oilers in Kamloops right to the Canucks.
But what years was it?
Okay.
It was the 84-85 season.
Oh, okay. It was, okay. I couldn't remember. He was somewhere in there.
I wasn't watching a lot of hockey then.
And he was like a bit of an insane guy that would. Okay, that was funny. But he was like violent, and it was like a military approach to coaching and big long marches in the gear, and he had all these line brawls, and he was just like an insane guy.
Right.
Which is a look into the old yesteryear, but there we go.
Gotcha.
So we got our Mount Rushmore, and I think we could wrap up this week's podcast. I had a great time, guys. How about you?
Yeah. Happy to be here.
We won't do 5 minutes or paying because I think I'm out of stuff to talk about. Unless,
Did we answer all the questions? Aren't you? I'm always surprised. We talk about nothing for an hour, and then it's like, oh, we still have 20 questions left from the last week or whatever.
Paul, you want to play 20 questions?
Not necessarily, but...
Is he bald? Okay, Johnny Canuck Down Under, he asked what our first post-lockout meal is, but we've had that question before, and mine is just anything with people. Like, fuck, that's all I want. I want to be in any establishment in the vicinity, in walking distance of Geeta's place with you guys and my friends, and just having about 3 beers and the conversation getting a little yelly out of good reasons because we're just having a good time.
Because we're seeing each other for the first time in months.
Yeah. Well,
I've been thinking of trying to make my own sashimi bowls at home, so starting to crave that as like a properly made bowl of sushi would be great right about now. So maybe that's my first meal, one of my first meals.
We'll put that on my Twitch or my OnlyFans. And then
a sashimi bowl?
Yeah.
Do you make sashimi bowls, Ryan?
No, it'll be video of you making it.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna start my own. I'm not gonna give you free content.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's smart. You're a smart guy. Yerky 20.
Yeah. Sign up for my OnlyFans if you want to see me making fancy, self-made sashimi bowls. We'll do some spam sushi. That's what that site's for, right? It's like cooking shows. It's like that David Ortiz skit on SNL on the weekend. I'm going to tape an iPhone to the ceiling.
But you'll be wearing...
Wait, are you telling me OnlyFans hasn't been a cooking show or cooking site all this time?
Well, Paul, I mean, you're going to have to show some skin if you want to post that to OnlyFans. Those are the rules.
Like salmon skin? Like, the salmon skin sushi with the crispy... Is that like...
Yerky21 also asked another video game question. He asked what our favorite bot from who is the best Mega Man boss? And I never played Mega Man.
I didn't know what that was.
It's like an NES, Game Boy era games.
Okay.
Yeah, I never was pretty popular, but I remember growing up like that and Metroid were all over the place, but I didn't really play either of them. But I did play Mega Man 64.
Okay.
That's the only one I remember playing, and I remember it being really fun, but I couldn't remember any of the villains, honestly.
I also got to say, Yerky21 texted me after the Millionaire episode because he said I was about to name him for commenting, saying that he corrected my trivia answer about Adam Graves playing for the Oilers and the Kings, and the Rangers. I got cut off, and I referred to him. He said he got really excited because I said our illustrious listener and friend of the show, Yerky. So it's a week and a half late he corrected our initial trivia segment. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. There's Spark Man, there's Snake Man, there's Top Man, there's Hard Man. But enough about all of the accounts you can subscribe to on OnlyFans.
Could see that coming a mile away.
Thank you. That's the only reason I asked it.
Isn't your page Mega Man? Isn't that what you go by?
I go by. I have a couple go bys.
Oh dear.
Dutch Lightning. West Side Brian, and cooking sashimi bowls with Ryan, but I just so that's my new one. It hasn't come out yet. But I'd say on that OnlyFans note, we'll wrap up the podcast this week. Once again, all your usual stuff, Pucksnet.ca or Pucksnet.ca. Go follow along. We have, I think, 8 teams left in our History of the NHL series on Instagram and on Twitter. And if you do want to support the show monetarily, we're going to have to do a bonus show for May coming up, but that's talk about a later date. Patreon.com/pucksonnet. Couple of bucks. Mainly $5 gets you instant access to all our content. I just got an email from Sport Check that my order is going to arrive tomorrow, so that's a positive sign. And that's my hot tip. That's my hot tip I forgot to say to you guys and the listeners. Because there was a big sale on sportcheck.ca, which I learned about through a Yerky21 quote tweet, and I went in and bought some stuff. You could have bought Bo Horvat jerseys for $30. Super cheap, good stuff.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I bought like a workout hoodie like that the players wear, but it got canceled because they didn't have accurate stock. So it's like the bricks and mortar places, it's a lot harder to keep track of stock. This is my tip of the week. There is going to be, like, all of these places that have bricks and mortar stores are going to be putting a lot of shit on sale. And, like, wait for the Bay to go on sale. Imagine they're going to be just moving stuff any way possible. Like, I got my duffel from Herschel, 40% off. Kids, if you're out there and you're listening, I know you are, bricks and mortar stores are going to have big sales in the coming weeks. This is where we're going to get all our cheap Nikes.
Well, something better. I've been waiting out iPhone they just released their new phones. I'm hoping I can get some kind of deal. Although the new one apparently is a deal in and of itself.
Yeah,
it's still like $500
Oh,
or
it's still way
$600.
too much money. Yeah, but relative to, if you're buying a new iPhone outright, there's no way around it. Tweet me, folks. Tell me which phone that's not Apple made is good.
Green.
I've been on Apple phones for so long.
No, you don't want to do that.
The moment your text bubble isn't blue, we will judge you.
Yeah, that's Tinder.
Like you don't judge me already. You two.
We judge you very positively. Like, look at this guy. What a hunk. On judging on the hunk scale, 7 out of 9.
When did Steve
But now
Jobs
we're like,
pay you
oh,
to?
that hunk has an Android.
It's a hunk of something, all right.
Old Green Bubble McClellan, he wants to get buzzed into the apartment. Not again. All right, well, we'll leave it on that. That was very good.